Okaeri Nasai Minasan. Today we're gonna talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard episode 12. This is a really fantastic episode. I really enjoy it. This is a high tension episode, I would say, because we actually get to see the good guy team getting total annihilated by the three Abyssal Sister plus the new Kamen Rider Dread itself. It is really crazy for us to actually get to see this. But with that being said, we want to talk about a few things that I really want to talk about in this episode. So the first thing that we saw immediately is that Harima uses like the portal thing, like that her hand is able to go through the portal thing. Is actually a type of forbidden alchemy. It's kind of like a forbidden magic that no one is supposed to use, and in using that, it is actually gonna cause her body to deteriorate, like that her hand is gonna get destroyed. And I think the reason why her hand is the only thing that is getting destroyed is because she is actually moving her hand through unsafe space and something like that, like time space continuum, something like that. So when the alchemist is not perfect, so that is why it is a forbidden alchemist itself. But I believe if someone were to do more research on this alchemy or magic, I believe if someone managed to perfect it, it is actually gonna be able to, like, people is able gonna use that alchemy or magic successfully without any side effect at all. And in fact, we actually get to see UFO X doing that quite a lot in this episode, and also in the previous episode where he kind of like open a portal where he's able to jump into the portal and goes to some place, some other space, something like that. So I think the idea here is that it is not really like a forbidden alchemist. It is just an alchemist that have a lot of side effect, and hence it is actually forbidden because the people use it is gonna die, something like that. Okay, so really interesting thing we get to see from Harima. Like she managed to beat down Houtarou like crazy also before Dread beat the shit out of him also. So good to see that. Okay, really amazing thing. But Harima just died like that in this episode when the three Abyssal Sister came out. That is really surprising. I really did not expect that Harima is actually like willing fully submit to the three Abyssal Sister. Like she said, she revered the three Abyssal Sister. So it really makes me wonder, like, how many other people is actually tempted by the idea of the three Abyssal Sister itself. Like how many people has fallen into this temptation. So this is something that we might actually need to check out, because this is definitely gonna happen in the future. Okay, like we're gonna see more and more people is gonna side with the three Abyssal Sister, and the three Abyssal Sister is gonna have more and more sidekick or side character that is gonna help them or support them along the journey, something like that. So next, obviously, we are gonna talk about Kamen Rider Dread. Okay, but let us talk about the driver first. So in order for you to use the Dread driver, firstly you need to cut slash on the driver itself, and then you need to slot in your card before pulling the crank to the left side to henshin into Kamen Rider Dread. Okay, so after Sabimaru actually got forced to henshin into Kamen Rider Dread, there is kind of like a sound effect where it actually say Kamen Rider Dread 0 Shiki, means type 0. Okay, so this actually tells us that, hey, there is definitely gonna be more than one version of Kamen Rider Dread. So Sabimaru is gonna be type 0. I believe there is gonna be type 1, type 2, type 3. We are not sure how many type they are gonna do and create for Kamen Rider Dread, but this is telling us that this is not the final form of Dread, and this might not even be the final form of the Dread driver itself. If Houtarou can use the Excalibur to become stronger, Kamen Rider Dread is also gonna be able to do something similar as well, which I believe so. Okay, but one major weakness from Kamen Rider Dread that we already know is gonna be the inability to counter a level 10 card, because they have properly established this in the previous episode where they said no one is able to utilize and kind of like make to kind of like make a level 10 Chemy submit or capture them successfully, something like that. So that would actually mean that the 3 Abyssal Sister is not gonna be able to create a replica card of the level 10 Chemy card itself. And because of this, we would believe, I would believe that the level 10 card thing is gonna be the super form of the series, and that is gonna be the next upgrade to Kamen Rider Gotchard itself. I think that is like pretty obvious. We already got a little bit of teaser of UFO X version of Kamen Rider Gotchard itself, so I'm really excited to see that happening in the next episode, because we are due, man. Like, we are due to a level up, and UFO X looks pretty ugly if you actually pay attention to kind of like the leaked photos and all the photos that has been teased to us already. I'm not a big fan of the suit at all. Like, I don't really don't like it at all. But then again, we just have to accept it, okay? We are just the viewer, we are just the consumer of the product. I think sometimes feedback is good, but sometimes when feedback doesn't reach the right ears, it is just whining and complaining, okay? So I am really excited to see where the story is gonna go, especially with the replica Chemy card itself, because this would actually show us that, hey, there is a possibility that in the future we're gonna get more driver that is gonna utilize the replica Chemy card instead of just using the Chemy card itself, because the Chemy card right now, almost all of the Chemy card right now are being designed with Gotchard in mind. So if you flip to the back of the card, every single card is gonna be a Gotchard based rider helmet, something like that. But with the replica Chemy card, they are able to create different rider helmet for different riders in the future. Maybe I believe Rene is gonna become a rider. I believe Spana is gonna become a rider. Hopefully Minato is gonna become a rider as well. But I'm not sure. Okay, I'm really not sure how many rider we are gonna get from Kamen Rider Gotchard itself. I don't think it is gonna be a lot like the rest of the Kamen Rider series, but at least 4. I will believe at least 4. So the 4 rider that I'm expecting, the final 4. Firstly is gonna be Kamen Rider Gotchard, which is Houtarou. Next is Kamen Rider, I'm not sure, but the user is gonna be Rinde. And then we're gonna see a Spana Kamen Rider. And then lastly is Dread, the final form of Dread, which we are not sure who is gonna be the final user of Dread, which I believe the final user of Dread is definitely gonna be Master Gleon, when the driver already kind of like is able to absorb all of the different like knowledge of people from the Alchemy Academy or the Alchemy Association. They started off with Sabimaru, the guy with the most knowledge about Chemy Cards, and that is, I think, very carefully planned to get knowledge first before they get power. And I believe next we are actually gonna see the next user of the Dread Driver might actually be Spana himself, because Spana right now is the strongest alchemist in the Alchemy Academy. So I think they would love to definitely tap into the power of Spana and make him into kind of like a villain, something like that. So there's definitely a possibility of that happening now that we actually get to see Sabimaru has already become a Kamen Rider Dread Type 0 himself. So maybe Spana is gonna be Type 1 of Kamen Rider Dread, and then who else? Maybe Type 2 is gonna be Gleon already. I don't think there's gonna reach until 3, but then again I could be wrong, because I don't think Renge is gonna use the driver. But then again, there's also a possibility. Really interesting thing. And speaking of Renge, I really did not expect the relationship between Sabi and Renge to be so surprisingly intimate than I thought. Like, Renge actually actively trying to convince Sabi, like, hey, don't do this, like, you don't let the evil win, something like that. I really did not expect this from Renge itself, but because like she is a character that has been established for us since day one, that she really love money, and hopefully in the future we are gonna get a dedicated episode for Renge just for us to learn like why she's so obsessed with money. Maybe there's like something in a family that she needs to support. Maybe there's like someone in the hospital or something like that. We are not sure, okay, but there's definitely gonna be really, really interesting. More Rider is gonna come, and I'm just so excited for Gotchard right now because things are getting really, really interesting. Another thing about this episode that really makes me like stop and question myself when I'm watching this episode is the intention of the three abyssal sister, because like Harima actually tries to say a little bit like, hey, are we gonna start it, are we gonna do it, the great something, and then suddenly Atropos be like, shut the hell up and sayonara, and then Harima is no more to be seen anymore. So I'm not sure like what is actually the intention of the three abyssal sister, because if you really think about it, if all they want is the Gotchadriver, they don't need to be so evil. They don't need to do so many things. They don't need to create the dread driver. Okay, maybe they do need to create the dread driver just to beat the shit out of Houtarou and snatch away the Gotchadriver, because they are the one that say Gotchadriver is the key to unleashing hell to war, something like that. So maybe when we first heard about this, our understanding is that the three abyssal sister actually wants the Gotchadriver itself. But maybe when the three abyssal sister talk about the Gotchadriver being the key to open hell's hole, something like that, it is kind of like a metaphor that the power possessed by the driver itself is able to really, really mess with society and really create menace to the world, something like that. It is not actually a key, but it is more kind of like a metaphor for power. Like all this power is able to destroy the world, something like that. So in doing so, like when they've realized that, hey, we can't get our hands on the Gotchadriver, so they created a new driver called the Dread Driver just to counter with the Gotchadriver. I think that really, really makes sense for them to actually do that. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, when does this become personal? Because I think in the first few episodes, you don't really felt like what the three abyssal sisters are doing is actually personal. Like they are just trying to be evil for the sake of being evil. But after being stopped by the Alchemy Academy students and teacher for multiple times, it started to get serious. It started to get personal, especially when Lakesi said to Valvarat like, hey, like I'm gonna tame you rabbit dog, something like that. So it's like you can really start to see like Lakesi and Spana, they are building a little bit of rivalry. Hopefully in the future it's gonna lead into romance or something like that. And then we get to see Cloto and Minato, they are always butting head with one another. And then Atropos is like aiming at Rene for some weird reason. It's like always kind of like teasing Rene, hey, this is your fault and this is what you wanted and this is all you're doing, something like that. So it started to be, I believe it started to become personal around episode 6, if not mistaken. So that is really, really interesting. Especially in this episode, we get to see the total annihilation of the good guy team, and that is so satisfying to watch. Okay, so by the end of this episode, we also get to see a realization of Houtarou. Like Houtarou like realized that, hey, I could die in this fight, but instead of like kind of like running away, instead of like being a coward and being fearful, he actually says that, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna save Sabimaru. I think that's really, really respectable. But then again, at the same time, I felt like if he show a little bit of weakness, if he show a little bit of kind of like a doubt in his mind, a little bit of fear, I think there's gonna be a really, really interesting character traits for us to actually see. Like we actually get to see Houtarou improving and growing as a character, and that is quite important for me, especially when we are watching a drama series. I really want to see the character to grow, like from episode to episode. Like if episode 1 he sucks, hopefully by before the end of the show he's gonna be amazing, something like that. So that is something that I just felt like I felt like what Gotchard is really missing, because we don't really get to see character development quite a lot, but we get to see a lot of villain character development. So that is pretty insane, okay? But with that being said, in this episode we get to see where does the X Gacha caliber actually came from. The X Gacha caliber is actually dropped by UFO X, but how the hell did UFO X got his hand on the Excalibur? I'm not sure, but there's a possibility that Kudo Fuga entrusted the Excalibur to UFO X before he looked for the owner for the Gotchadriver itself, and UFO X has been holding on Excalibur ever since then. Okay, so and maybe the Excalibur and the driver was not kind of like a new creation by Kudo Fuga, but it might actually be kind of like an item that the Alchemist of the Dawn actually uses in the past to defeat the great devil, the great demon Glion Sama, something like that. So all the thing that we get to see Houtarou is using right now is actually what the Alchemist of the Dawn used to do and used to use in his battle against the Master Glion, something like that. That is just kind of like a possibility going on, but we actually get to see UFO X is the one that brings Houtarou the Excalibur, which is quite surprising, not gonna lie. But then again, I don't really like how they like ended this episode. Like I like it when we actually get to see a little bit of character from Spana, but at the same time I don't like it because this episode was supposed to be Dread's menacing episode. Like this episode is his debut episode, so he's supposed to be really menacing, he's supposed to be really OP, he's supposed to be really scary, but it was immediately downplayed by the power of Excalibur. Even though the good guy Olus was beaten to a pulp, something like that, but it was all turned upside down because of the Excalibur itself. So Houtarou is able to take down Dread with a single slash of Excalibur. So that is also really interesting for us to actually get to see. But at the same time, it also kind of like makes sense because it is the power of a level 10. It's supposed to be a level 10 card, something like that, but it turns out to be kind of like a weapon of level 10. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm really not sure what is how the hell does having Excalibur allows Houtarou to defeat Dread. Maybe is a new information that Sabi doesn't know, and that is why he's not able to counter it properly. Maybe that is kind of like the in-war explanation of how the hell did Excalibur manage to defeat Kamen Rider Dread in the first place. Okay, so really amazing thing. But lastly, before I end the video, one thing I really want to talk about is the Rage from Spana. We actually get to see the Rage from Spana by the end of this episode, where he actually tells us that, hey, do you know how many alchemy die because you couldn't do your job and something like that. Like multiple of alchemy die every single day to protect the peace in the world, something like that. He really spoke like a true soldier and something like that, and I really respect him for this thing that he is actually saying. And it also kind of like show us like why he is the way he is. He is so strict to himself, strict to other people, because he understood that his role carries a lot of weight. The thing that he does, if he fail, is gonna cause someone else to die, and that is just really crazy. Okay, and I really believe that Spana, the reason why Spana is so protective of Rinne Kudo is because the teacher of Spana, the one that guided Spana to become such an amazing alchemist, is actually the father of Rinne itself, and that is kind of like their relationship. Okay, so really amazing thing we get to see in this episode. Hopefully in the next episode, UFO X versus Dread is not gonna be disappointing, it's gonna be amazing, hopefully, and I really am excited to see what is to come. That is all from me. Hope you enjoy. If you like what you see, you know what to do. Subscribe. And before you leave, okay, final word for you. to comment in the comment section below to let me know you truly finished the video. And that is gonna be SIBU, Cebu. Why Cebu? Because the reason why this video is late is because I went to Cebu for a short getaway, and at the same time I also went there to purchase a camera. Okay, so I'm really excited. I'm gonna show my camera to you in the future. Hopefully, if I manage to like master that camera, it might replace this camera that I'm currently using for my YouTube video. But then again, I don't think so. Okay, this camera is very good. I feel like I'm just gonna use this as my full-time YouTube video camera. But for my other camera, it's gonna be like my other freelance videographer work, something like that, like weddings, events, something like that. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye.